welcome to another episode of the Etihad Cargo Connections. Today we speak to Ming Lianto. Is that how you pronounce your name?
Ming Lianto. Very close.
Sorry. Of Hanging Tree Wines, and we're going to be talking about wines and excellence and a little bit of racing. So welcome, Ming. Before I sort of rudely interrupted you, you were talking about your family's passion, and in racing, and then switching over from that into wine. So could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me as well, Pallavi. So my family, I'm going to say since I was young, very young, I just remember getting dragged to horse races all the time. And, you don't really understand, but like you get, put into little dresses and like go out. And it was a lot of fun. So my dad had a huge passion for horse racing, and he had a knack for picking up horses from sales, I'd say, and getting picking pretty good winners.
Yeah.
So they were in that for at least 2 decades or so. It was a lot of me growing up running to races, sometimes missing it because the Asian family, my mum's always really late. So sometimes we'll be driving to the races, pull over into a TAB, which is like a pub, and just watch it there instead. Miss the race. But about 10 years ago now, my parents gradually switched over. They bought a vineyard, winery, cellar. So I'll say wine was already a passion for, their whole lives as well.
Yeah.
They were always a little bit in the wine industry as well, but buying a vineyard really cemented that. And it became our day-to-day lives, I'd say. Big passion.
It's a big passion, I can imagine, because you wouldn't take on something like that unless you really, really, really were committed.
Yeah, it sounds romantic. A lot of people think it's a romantic idea. Buy a vineyard, have a cellar door. It's hard work. It's, every day. Getting up early, all through the night. Well, actually, we work till about 5 p.m. and then we have what we call wine time. Everyone just, it's like no more work. Otherwise, if I start emailing you after wine time, you'll get like really odd responses. Our time to unwind.
A lot of emojis of very few words. I know what you're talking about.
And probably a lot of typos.
Yeah. I've been there, done that. I'll put my hand up. Right. So what in your, so you've actually lived through both worlds, coincidentally. So what do you think is sort of the crossover that you find when it comes to both industry? What do you see as a crossover?
Yeah. So I'm going to say first up, quality. So like your horse, you've got to pick right. And get the quality out of them. There's also a lot of personality behind horses. So I'll go to quality and personality first. But when you make a wine, or even if you make, your favorite dish at home or something, you want to have quality ingredients. If you've got something that's not good, your whole dish or your whole wine is not going to be good. So quality's got to be there. So we focus on being a boutique, small batch winery, and we still handpick all our grapes and bunches so we can pick the best, basically. And I said personality. So horses all have personalities. We had a horse that could win, always could win, but he wanted to come second. So he'd lead the whole way. Just before the finish line, he'll kind of just slow down a bit, wait for another horse, and then go. It was the funniest thing, but that was him, right? That was his personality. So wine all has personality as well. It depends what we want to, try and make and convey out of this bottle and these flavors. But I think they're big things in winemaking as well.
Well, I'm going to tag on to that because there is a actual Group 1 winning horse, and his first owner, so now they've changed hands, but his first owner said that the horse refused to train unless there was music, Mozart in the background.
I love that.
he apparently the horse needed Mozart to be playing in the background, so he hooked up a bit of a CD player to get it to play on Bluetooth or something, so that the horse could hear over the sound of the hooves. And this is all a bit complicated, but they managed to do it. And the reason he purchased the horse, and this is where this whole thing got a bit more complicated, is the way he went about. He wanted a horse that liked music. So he and his uncle went around with their phone playing music, and they picked the horse. They bought the horse that actually started sort of enjoying, twirling its head and enjoying the music. And that's how they picked the horse to start with. And then the horse needed to be played to. Now, I don't know if this is still the case, and I am dying to find out when hopefully speak to the trainer and figure out if this is still the case. But I know what you mean when it comes to training.
Yeah, I love that.
I
That's
know what
very
you
sweet.
mean. Yeah, exactly. I'm sorry. It means when you talk about personalities.
Yeah. And that's it, right? You can't like try and force something into anything or anyone. You kind of go with the flow. It is what it is, and you try and align with that. So we would do the same with our grapes. So it depends on what the vintage is like, what the season is like, and then you go along with that flow. Make what you can make out of that personality of the grapes of that year.
Wow. And what would you say that's what sets apart Hanging Tree from what's produced at other wineries? The fact that you take such an interest in trying to figure out what the personality is before you start trying to bottle them?
I'd say that is a part, but I also have to say wine it's also our personality coming out. So it's really what we what we like is what we're making as well, and what we think everyone like our clientele will like. I think what really sets us apart is the vineyard and the experience itself, to be honest. So Hanging Tree Wine's absolutely gorgeous place. So it used to be an old cattle farm. Yeah, so we still have the old buildings. They're kind of falling down now, but there's a lot of history. So our cellar door is actually the old cattle shed.
Wow.
And we've used, so Dad and I, when we first bought it, it was basically a leaking tin shed.
Oh,
You couldn't
good.
put wine in there. Every time it rained, you'd have like the spittoons, and we'd be running out with these little spittoons, putting them on the floor, catching all these rain. So we actually but we really like the rustic vibe, right? So we wanted to keep it as original as possible. So we actually got all these beams from the old blacksmith's cottage on the property, old wood timber, put them in like into the structure. Then we put a new roof and insulation above the original roof or ceiling now. So it still looks completely classic, rustic, like completely Australian country style. And there's actually a lot of horse saddles and horseshoes and everything in there, actually, if you look around. But and cattle things. But that in itself, I think, is beautiful. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous spot. If you can ever make it to Australia and the Hunter, you've got to come visit.
I will. Thank you for the invitation.
That's all right. And then the experience itself, I think, is where we really stand out. So if you look at our Google reviews or something, the team is really all about a relaxed, fun vibe. Again, I'll talk to personality because the whole team has a personality, and it shows in their wine tasting experience. So we do, even pre-COVID, we've always done sit-down tastings. Outdoors and indoors. Enjoy the views, have a picnic. Try the wines, and you can choose what wines you want to taste as well. Like I said, it's all the best wines, the one you like. So we don't really have set lists. It's what you want as well.
What you enjoy. And I was reading about your puppy cuddles as well. You've got a puppy cuddle day or date.
It's every day, actually. So I grew up with one dog. We've always had one dog growing up. And then when we had the vineyard, we had some customers like, oh, we can't look after our dog. Do you want it? And we're like, oh, okay. You can't say no. You've got the space. So we adopted a dog. We got given another dog. So then I had 3 dogs, and they're big dogs. They're like Labradors and cattle dogs. And then my oldest boy, who I grew up with, Vodka was his name, he passed. And we had this, empty feeling for a while, as you do. So we went and bought another two puppies. So there's 4 dogs, and every day's puppy cuddles. So we've got Bundy, who's a chubby Labrador. He's like a big marshmallow around the ground, basically. We've got Musket, who's our cattle dog. So he's a really good like working dog. He's the one you'll see like jumping on our like pallets of wine and everything. He's everywhere I am, basically. We've got Kalua, he's a cream Kelpie.
Wow.
Beautiful, yeah, very active. And Sambuca is his best friend because they grew up together. He's a black Labrador.
Oh, that sounds like a beautiful quartet.
Yeah. So we're very pet friendly as well. You can come bring your dogs. Off leash is fine. They have runarounds. We've got a pond right next to our cellar door tasting area. So they they can swim if they want as well. We've even had like birds and cats visit, you know, like people's pets like coming, and so and even rabbits. So very pet friendly.
Yeah, exactly. It sounds like it's a really pet friendly thing, you know.
Yeah.
They've brought. Next, we'll hear that you've got ducks swimming in the pond because
We do. We've got duck families. We've got guinea fowls as well. So they're big, like turkey-looking birds from Africa originally. They're gorgeous. If you look at their feathers, they're like grey but like dot speckled. So they're good friends with the dogs too. Actually, they chase each other around all the time. It's really odd. We've got koi fish in the pond. Yabbies
beautiful.
as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
beautiful. The
And our
guppies.
goldfish are on gigantic, basically.
Yeah, no, they do that. We had one that yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, but I think yours would have gotten lot bigger because they're not in an aquarium, they're in a pond.
Yeah, well, the koi fish are in a pond. The goldfish we put into a grape picking bin. So
Uh-huh.
that's like a big tub that holds like 1.5 ton of grapes.
Wow.
We had a few that were like, you know, we were like, oh, this is getting a little bit old, so we've converted into a little goldfish pond. But yeah, they've gone gigantic.
Wow. I've got to, please send me some photographs. I'd love to see some.
Yeah,
And
I
I'd
can do
love to
that.
put some into the video as well. So please send me
Yeah.
some photographs.
Yeah, I can do it. When I get back to Australia, I can do that. So I'll let everyone know this is a hotel room, is why I apologize for my background, but I couldn't figure out how to do this on my phone. Very nice
Absolutely.
hotel in Vietnam.
Right. Now, what is your personal connection to wine? I mean, your parents bought the winery, but what's your personal connection to wine? And looking to the future, where do you see Hanging Tree in the next sort of 10 years or so?
Yeah,
Very curious.
so personal connection, I'm gonna say my parents dragged me into it. I wasn't I was very much a spirits drinker actually before, like as you growing up. So I actually started with making my own spirits.
Wow.
We called it Ming Shine. Um,
Now that's different.
yeah, so that's where I started, and then eventually I guess just like going to health, and what I enjoy drinking now
Yeah.
is I'm very, very much a wino. So yeah, I'm gonna say my parents' love for it brought my love into it, my passion
Yeah.
for wine for sure.
Uh-huh.
Um eh, and you were saying, where do I
I,
think Hanging Trees?
where do you see
Um,
where do you see it going? What would you like to see it continue the way it's going now, or is there a direction that you want to take Hanging Tree into?
yeah, so I want, so the cellar door wise, the experience, like I say,
Yeah.
definitely want to keep that going. So it is more about that family vibe, very relaxed vibe, like a good friendly atmosphere is what we want.
Yeah.
It feels
Yeah.
like basically I want everyone to come in and it feels like home for them.
Right.
Not feel rushed, not feel like you can spend the whole day there
Yeah.
basically. You can watch the sunset there. But from like the external point of view, so I look after markets, events,
Mm-hmm.
and festivals.
Mm-hmm.
So almost every weekend I'm out with a little stall in my van, you know,
Oh,
set up a stall,
wow.
bring some wine over, and that's where I've been taking Hanging Tree, like just building the presence outside of the Hunter Valley because we're quite a boutique small winery.
Yeah.
So just building that presence in the name
Yeah.
out in like Sydney, Central Coast, and Hunter, so kind of the east coast
Yeah.
of New South Wales. is where I've been looking at, and I've also events. So I do like food and wine matching lunches or dinners, or
Wow.
we do vineyard events as well. So we've got like burning of the canes, which is a huge bonfire every year of all our prunings. But
Wow.
that's a good night out.
Wow, that sounds beautiful. Just from a thinking perspective, that's what you want to go and see. Um, yeah, because look, you know, out in the desert in Dubai, you'd end up seeing bonfires, but I don't think I've seen one at the scale that I can imagine you'd have to put up if you're setting up if you're setting up to do what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's a huge bonfire for sure.
Yeah, it's not competing with any of our sticks. So do we get to see you in Dubai? Do we get to see you at a food festival or at you know, in the US or something? Have you guys planned something like that, taking the brand international?
I would love to. We haven't planned yet so far, so we're, you know, quite a small, tight-knit
Yeah,
team. So
yeah.
hopefully one day when we expand, we used to export actually to Indonesia and China.
Uh-huh.
Um, yeah, it's just some things happening with I'll say political things happening in Australia, but you know, so yeah, it's been a bit hard to export to China at the moment,
Yeah, yeah.
and also to Indonesia, but we still have a presence there.
Oh, fantastic. That sounds beautiful. And how would you describe the culture and the ethos at Hanging Tree? Um, is there any vintages that you think would be really special to your heart that you can look back at?
Yep. So vintage wise, I'm gonna say I can talk about every vintage. They're all super like clear in my mind, still all very like
Yeah,
memorable. Because you know, nothing ever goes to plan. Let's put it that way,
yeah,
right? Like
yeah,
something's always happening. Um, so like 2015, for example, we had the floods in the Hunter. 2020 was bushfires, and then we had COVID and everything. So I'm going to say my favorite vintage so far is probably 2019.
good.
It was a stunning year. You know, the weather was perfect, the season was perfect,
Yeah.
just everything you wanted for the vines.
Mhm.
They were loving it. I also love 2019 because it was, you know, pre bushfires in Australia, was quite bad.
Yeah,
Pre COVID and everything.
yeah,
So 2019, we've made, I'm going to say one of our, I'm going to probably say one of our best wines so
right.
far, and something we're still cellaring, but we
Yeah.
make a blacksmiths series when we feel like the vintage is exceptional. So
Yeah.
we've got a 2019 blacksmith Shiraz Cabernet,
Wow.
which was just stunning. Yeah, black currant notes, blackberry, like vanilla cream finish, some nice like chocolatey tannin. And the name blacksmiths, we name it the blacksmiths cottage. We name it the blacksmiths from for the cottage. So
Mhm.
a lot of history on there. I think I said you know, we use some of the
Yeah.
material to build our cellar door as well.
Yeah.
But the family who used to live there were
Uh-huh.
blacksmiths, and
Okay.
they are still local.
Right.
So we kind of dedicate it to, you know, the land and who used to have the land, basically.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds beautiful. So you've sort of honored the legacy
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
land.
It's important to us because I feel like
Yeah.
you know, it's a gorgeous spot and there's so much
Mhm.
history. Like it's always been called Hanging Tree Hill,
Uh-huh.
and we call it Hanging Tree Wines basically. But yeah, it's a lot of history. So we have a hanging tree
I
basically
was
on the
going to
front of the
ask. I
property.
was going to ask.
I didn't know if I was going to get into this, but it's not a nice, like, flowing hanging tree, is what you're probably picturing. When you think cattle farm in Australia, this is a hanging tree. So it used to hang the cattle to to bleed out for butchering.
Ew.
Um,
Right.
back in the day. So the tree is still up at the front of the property. It's the
Right.
tallest tree there.
Uh-huh.
We've put little like fencing around it, and it's still a beautiful tree. But you know, they say a couple bush rangers were also hung there. Just a lot of Australian history.
It has a
You're
lot
probably
of
like, what?
history. It has a lot of history. I truly imagined something slightly different when I imagined the hanging tree. I didn't realize it was literally the hanging tree.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. That's really fantastic. Now, talk to us a little bit about your cellar door experience and how do you curate it to sort of make it unique in the valley?
Yeah, so we have a pretty big wine list, I'll say, right? So very unique in the valley is we don't just have a set, like we don't have a set list, I'd say, for your tasting. So I'll go back a step actually. So in the Hunter Valley, what we generally do, it's probably like a 1 hour tasting. People are generally at the bar or sitting down, they taste their 6 wines and that's it. We've always been about like sit down, take your own, like pick your own spot if you want in the sun or outdoors or facing the pond or facing the vineyard or even indoors next to the fireplace. So I think that's already like, something that people aren't really used to and they love it. And if they've got their own dogs, then we can like play in the garden, etc. And then they can choose the wines they want to taste. So if they're only just into bubbles, they can choose the bubbles. If they're into whites, then choose whites, reds. We've got sweets, desserts, and fortified as well, or a mix of them, and we'll help recommend and like curate that journey with you based on what you like and what you thought the last wine you tasted was. The other thing I'm going to say, the team is awesome. The team, it's a good balance of wine education and just fun and laughter, because like I'll say our ethos, wine is about having fun. It's not like a serious thing. Well, it is serious, it's not like you don't want to have to us, you don't want to have a tasting and just us going wine, like da 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 da, this is what we put in, this is how we made it, like, so it's a lot of very interesting conversations, and a good blend of I'll say banter, friendliness, and wine education.
In what way do you collaborate with your winemaker to sort of try and loosely at least tie in your cellar door food offerings with the wine that you offer?
We're intertwined, I'd say. So making doesn't start from just the finish. It doesn't start from the finish, right? So it doesn't start from the food or anything. It starts all the way from vintage. So when your grapes, when the vine's starting to burst and the grapes are coming and everything, and so you're already tasting all the flavors there with the winemaker as well. So our winemaker is Gary McLean. He's been in the valley many years. But he, we're already tasting. We know what the flavors are. We know what the season's going to be like. So you're already thinking about what you want to curate for that particular vintage or that particular varietal. So definitely a journey all through. Very, very connected.
So last question. And aside from wines and aside from moonshine, what are some of the hobbies and interests that bring balance to your life?
So I grew up with 4 brothers, so I'm one of those very outdoorsy, probably crazier people, but I do love hiking. I go canyoning, which is abseiling down mountains as well, and swimming out in mountains, basically. I love that. I love traveling, exploring, like anything outdoors and exploring new things. I also love gardening and reading. So I'm not just I also relax and have a bit of downtime.
Wow, you go both ways. You're very outdoorsy, or you love to put up your feet and just sit down and read, or run in the garden.
That's it. a good balance of everything. So like if I'm in the garden, it's my chill time. I'm listening to like music or podcasts or something, and just in the garden, and then reading as well is like an unwind for me. But most of the day I'll be out and about in the vineyard with the dogs, hiking somewhere.
Wow, that sounds like an idyllic life. Let's swap.
It's also very hard work.
I was going to say that. I was going to say yes.
Yes. Forget about that. That's my passions, but my day-to-day.
That I can completely imagine. It was absolutely lovely talking to you, Ming. It was really nice. I had a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to seeing the pictures of the hanging tree and the the gigantic goldfish.
Yep, I'll send you more photos. But it was really nice to meet you as well. Lovely to talk to you from different parts of the world as well, which is great. So thank you.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing you. And if you're in Dubai at any point of time, come say hello.
Love to.
You take care of yourself. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.